In my fitness career, I was part of the leadership team, and there was one position that was open above me that I had been offered a few times by different various, executives. And I didn't want it. And I probably wouldn't have been ready, but I had little kids and there were all kinds of things that, I liked the flexibility of the job that I had. So then position came open again, and it was a natural fit for me. I had done all of the things that would have prepared me for it, and I didn't get it.
Welcome to Women and Work, the show where we take an inside look at how women are overcoming our own unique challenges as we grow our careers or build a business while nurturing relationships and family. I'm Diane Mocha, founder and CEO of Mom Sub, the childcare app that connects you to a substitute mom. And I want you to know that work can fit your life. Each week, we meet a woman who has done that. And today I'm with Jen Anderson. She calls herself a professional wing woman. She's been collaborating with entrepreneurs to provide strategy and accountability for the past 3 years and offering fitness training to individuals for more than 20 years. She spent nearly 2 decades as the exercise coordinator at a hospital, so she knows the value of good health. Thanks for being here, Jen.
Thanks. That's a great intro, Diane. Thank you.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
you offer the whole package, right? Wellness for the body and mind to help business owners find that balance and focus on what they enjoy and do best. And I know that many women working in a corporate setting like a hospital struggle to find balance like that. And I wonder if you face that. What do you think has been the biggest challenge in your career, specifically because you are a woman?
What a great question. There's how long do we have for the podcast? Yes. I do think that, and particularly I'm not necessarily so young anymore, but when you're a younger woman, there is such a huge potential for being underestimated and really just sort of overlooked. And the expectation is you're just doing, right? You're doing all the things all the time. So the expectation is that you're just going to sort of keep churning and maybe not always get all the credit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you're doing those things expecting that you're going to reap the rewards because you hear about that in school. It works, right? You do the
Yes.
things and you get the good grades and you get the accolades and you get the scholarships, and then you go into the
Yeah.
workplace and you're doing the things and other people are doing the things and you're putting in even more, but it's a whole different world, right? It's political. It's who's the loudest about their own accomplishments. It's who's got the bravado to show that they're confident and they deserve it. And sometimes it's pattern matching, right, with the boss and who they connect with,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
those things. So, did you
Yes.
have instances of that in your own career where you felt slighted or you felt like, wait a minute, something happened that you didn't expect because you thought it was a natural consequence and then it didn't happen?
Gosh, I have a great one, which is where I made the transition from being a full-time fitness professional to being a professional wing woman and working online. So in my fitness career, I was part of the leadership team, and there was one position that was open above me that I had been offered a few times by different various, executives. And I didn't want it. And I probably wouldn't have been ready, but I had little kids and there were all kinds of things that, I liked the flexibility of the job that I had. So then position came open again, and it was a natural fit for me. I had done all of the things that would have prepared me for it, and I didn't get it. It
Oh,
came, yeah.
you
And
were offered this position earlier in your career,
mhm,
but you recognized it wasn't a fit because you had young
yeah,
children. And you
yeah. And
said,
then,
that's
okay,
later on when I'm ready for it,
yeah,
and it's right
yeah.
for me. And when it was right for you, do you think it was ageism? Say,
Probably not. I think it's because, to be honest, and this is going to sound like I'm, tooting my own horn. I think I was so good at the job that I was in that they feared me leaving that role because I did so much. So I think it was more to do with that. And they would have had to pay me more.
that
And I
was
had
another
already
thing.
and I would and I've already been there for a long time. and I was only going to accept X amount more because, the increments were going to have to get bigger for me because I had been there. So I think it was a combination of those things. But then, the question was, but you're going to stay, right? And I was like, I can't. I can't stay.
So they
So
lost
no.
you anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So at that point, when they said you're going to stay, was that after they had offered it to someone else?
hmm
And was that person younger or less experienced? Do you think they paid them less than what they would have had to pay you?
uh, less experienced in that role and probably maybe they paid less. I'm not quite sure, to be honest.
Was it a man?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
And was
Yeah.
the person who you were interacting with, was it the same person that had offered you that position all those years ago?
No,
Okay.
no. So it was new leadership that came into that role, which and it's funny because that's what kicked me into, hang on, I'm gonna go open up my computer and use all of my leadership skills because I already have fitness skills and I still teach fitness in different places and I love it. I won't give it up, but my full-time job then became as a professional wing woman. So I had all of the business skills I had already done in that role, marketing, I had done talent acquisition, I had, you know, contractors that reported to me in places and spaces and revenue responsibilities. So I get how the corporate and I don't work with corporate people now, but I get how business runs. Like I understand, I have business sense and I have that to share and to give. So when I started working with people online, originally as maybe coming in as like an assistant because I was just like, I didn't even know this job existed. I started to realize that's not where my skill set was. They really needed more. And so since there wasn't a word for it, I was like, I'm a professional wing woman. I made that up
All
because why
right.
not?
So you had this big transition in your career where the next logical step when you were ready for it suddenly was taken away from you in a way that you didn't think it should have been. So you couldn't stay and work for this other person,
Yeah.
knowing that you should have been in that role. And so when you left, was your plan, okay, I'll just become an entrepreneur and I'll just uh, consult with businesses and
Yeah.
but you had not been doing that on your own
Nope.
previously. So that's
Nope.
a big leap to just
Yeah,
say,
I
I'm
know.
going to walk away from 20 years in a career in
Yeah.
corporate and I'm just going to do my own thing. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
did you have some sort of safety cushion? You're like, well, I've got savings, I've got a spouse, my kids are grown, I'm fine, I can take my time. Or were you like, I got to make this work and I'm gonna? Like, what was the, pressures on you?
Yeah, it was more about door number two. So I am married and my husband was fully supportive. But we are not a family that can be a one income family. And so we wanted to, I do have my kids are grown, but I've got a kid in college and a high schooler and they're still expensive. So it was kind of like I know I can make this work. I just have to figure it out. And that was 3 years ago, and I have had year over year growth every year. I have figured it out and then some. So I'm pretty proud of that because I have proven to myself that I can I can make these things happen. And I am finding my voice and my value when I'm working with people. Um, the value that I'm really given to them is it's worth this whole entire trip. It's worth the whole entire trip because it's so much different than working for someone else and really driving their mission. I'm finding my people that are my clients, and all of my business has been referral and word of mouth. I don't even have a website. I haven't needed one, and so I just it's been referral, word of mouth, and I know. And some people are like, "Oh my gosh, you need a website," and I'm like, "Well, it's been going okay so far. I work out of LinkedIn. I work out, yeah,
Where
yeah,
did you start? I mean, how did you just decide I'm going to consult with businesses? Oh, there's somebody and they want me. because there's so many people that struggle so much and they
Yeah,
they put in a lot of time and effort and they do all sorts of marketing and they don't get the clients and the money and they can't replace their income. So how did
yeah.
this all magically come to you? There
So
has to be something behind the magic.
there is. So I had was my very first client I was introduced to by a mutual friend, and on paper this person should have been great for me. They were someone also in the fitness space, and I was going to be their full-time assistant and had spoken to them very candidly. You're my first client. I've never done this before. Here we go. I'm a fast learner, and it was a terrible fit. It was a terrible experience. It was, um, and when I look back on it, I wanted it to work so bad that I overlooked my own gut because I knew I was like, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel right, but I know I can make it work because I was so excited and I thought for sure that I was going to make it work. And it was a person that did not want to have any accountability in their own business. It was very, I mean, I'm talking like no boundaries, 14, 16 hours a day, still in my pajamas, crying, overwhelmed. I mean, it was bad. But the silver lining was I met another contractor through that experience who experienced some of what I did and started working with that person. And from there, everything else took off. So left the one that was a terrible fit, but man, was that a good learning experience because I learned a lot on the fly and I also learned who I will and will not work with. And I'm very clear now about listening to my own gut and not overlooking those red flags. And from there, it was, the one client that I met that I worked really well with, and I'm still working with, and it's been almost 4 years. We have still been together. And then from there, networking, meeting people, being referred by this person. Hey, you should work with Jen. Now I meet other people. You should work with Jen, and organically growing that and then growing my own presence and my own voice and my own connections. So it wasn't an overnight success and it would have been really easy to throw in the towel. And I did go back to fitness in a different capacity for a little while in that same interim. I was still working online, but I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. So I went back and I was working in fitness and then I was like, it's got to be one or the other. And I know I can do this.
But you list both on LinkedIn. So
I
you
do.
still provide some fitness training to people
Yeah,
in
I
person.
do.
Okay.
Yep,
And
yep.
so my sense was that what you're providing with the collaboration and the strategy and the accountability is more in like a coaching or consulting role. But when you said assistant, that sounds like you're digging in and you're actually doing the work, taking some of the work off of the backs of the business owner to free them up to look at the bigger picture. So are you doing both and are you, how do you structure it? Is it based on your time? Is it based on metrics? How does this work?
Yeah, so that's how I started. I started more in that assistant role, but really now what I do is very fractional, work with clients on strategy and business development. And so typically we will do um, a weekly meeting, look at where they were last week, look at where they're going next week, make sure that all of the clients that they need to be in touch with have the right touch points. I'm helping them create the capacity to do the things that they do that I can't. So, like, for example, working with a graphic designer, I am no such thing. I have no talent or skills whatsoever as a graphic designer. However, when it comes to, hey, here's your client, we're finished with this project, what's next? And they go, well, I need to get the next project. I go, hold on, do they need assets now? You just created a whole thing for them, branding. What else can we offer the clients we already have? How can we develop that? So helping them to, sort of see things in that new light and then create that repeatable business or a new service line. So sometimes it's helping them with their messaging. I do some writing for them, content creation. So it kind of it's it depends on what the client needs and what's going to help them create that capacity so that they can do more.
Hmm. And you said you were doing all these different things as an exercise coordinator at a hospital?
I did. So when I did that, what that job was, yeah, that was full time of, yeah, I did marketing. It was all pretty grassroots. So I had to create all of my own classes. So I had to come up with my own creativity for what are we going to offer? Who's our audience? Who's filling this class? How are we going to get the parents to buy swim lessons for their little kids? How are we going to nurture those relationships? How are we going to make our bottom line revenue? How are we going to um, cut our expenses and manage the, you know, resources that we have. So all of those business development things is what I did in fitness. Now, I do jumping jacks? Yeah, I did. And push-ups, and I still do. And I taught classes, but I also was over the whole entire department and I didn't have a team. It was just me. So it was me doing all of those things. Someone else was over personal training, someone else was over, the Pilates department, and I was over all of the group fitness, which was really the biggest. We saw the most people. We have the most traffic in the door. So, and the most variety. So, and a lot of times it was chunking those, people would pay for like a boot camp class or something, right? So it's like $10 a class. Well, I got to make this much revenue, so I better come up with something else that's not $10 a class. So it was that kind of like creative business development and figuring out how to get more bodies in the door and serve more people and help them get fit.
Wow. And doing
So,
that all on your own, figuring it out as you go along, like an entrepreneur
mhm,
does. When you
right.
started that job, were you a mother or was that before you had kids?
I had kids when I was there. Yep. So I
Okay.
started it right before a year or two before I had my first. Yep.
You started the job a year or two before you had your child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you started the position, but knew you wanted a family.
Hmm.
And was your plan like, I'll have kids, but I'll stay working full time? Or did you have a grand plan? Or you're like, I'll figure it out at the time? Or were you thinking of leaving or going part time? What were your thoughts about combining work and kids?
If I would have had a different job, I think I wouldn't have wanted to stay working full time. But I loved that job and I could be so flexible with it. Even though it was full time, I could work 4 10-hour days, or I could work 3 12-hour days and do a Saturday morning, or my husband and I could really structure it around our life. And he had like super consistent hours. And so mine could be kind of all over the place. Um, and we had to get help. We had to get my parents to help, the babysitting here and there, but we did really make it work for a long time. And it was just such a great job. I mean, that's a great way to make a living. When people come in and work out, I love it. That's why I still do it. I still do that in addition to all of this, which is so fun. It's like two really fun, different jobs that I get to do. But yeah, people are excited when they come in for workouts most of the time. Being in that leadership role, though, I also had to deal with people that weren't very excited, or something went wrong, or technology failed, or somebody you know, uh, misspoke or there was a conflict. So all of that stuff, conflict management, everything. So, all the things that you could think of, that was part of the role that I had. So that was challenging. That's tough, I think, in any leadership role.
So you could be there during the day some of the time when your husband was working. Your
Yep.
parents could be there during the day some of the time when he was working and you were working. If you were
Yep.
working evenings or weekends, he was with the kids.
Mhm.
And so, did you have any childcare like during the first, 3, 5, 8 years of their lives? Or was it just you were kind of coordinating this patchwork, which takes some effort, and then they went to school and then you just kept coordinating?
Yep, we did. And so my mom retired when I had my first son, so she could help with a lot of that early little baby childcare. And then when I had my second son was 2 years later, so now toddler and baby, and she helped with that too. And my dad did, but then my dad got sick in there. So we did actually have a friend. who beautiful friend who was like, I will watch your children. And we paid, it was childcare and we paid for everybody's time because it was important. But they helped when we needed help. And then the mom community that you grow, right? The mom community of the little people, like, can you pick them up? We need this, and just kind of like teaming up with each other. So we did a lot of that. And my husband did so much of the because he was always getting them off the bus. And then it was he did homework, dinner, take them to sports practice, bring them home and get them cleaned up, get their stuff ready for the next day, make the lunch. And sometimes then I would come home from work. So we did do a lot of that. Sometimes we would structure it and I would just say, you know what, I'm here. I'm going to stay until 10 o'clock tonight and just, work like crazy. And he's like, okay, we're already doing it. So, my kids played a lot of sports and we drove to a lot of hockey rinks and baseball fields and everything. Yeah, it was
And
wild.
did even with that support, did the logistics of just figuring it out from week to week or even day to day when it was changing, did it wear on you? Did you feel like you were the one who had to kind of figure it all out? I mean, these were some of these days were back before there was online calendars and it was so easy to kind of program everything in. You were probably walking around with the day timer. Yeah.
You know what we had? We had one of those giant desk calendars where you can write on it, and my husband would arrange the whole thing. And
Okay.
one year for one of my girlfriend's birthdays, she had 5 kids, and he knew all of their schedules because they played with my kids. So he wrote one for her birthday, and she started crying. She's like, "This is the nicest gift anyone's ever given me," and it was literally like, "Here's your whole entire next 6 months in summer."
Wow. It
All of
is. It's a lot to carry, right? The moms
Yeah.
call it the mental load today, that they're all
Yeah,
carrying around. So you had assistance with that as well. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
you loved what
yeah,
you did. You had this
yep,
flexibility. You were
yep.
teaching, classes at night or weekends. You didn't feel like you were
Mhm.
missing things with your kids.
No, not really. I mean, I did, like I said, my husband did a lot of the like afternoon after school that I didn't do, but I didn't really miss their games. I didn't miss because again, I could have all of this flexibility when I was at that job, which I loved. And my husband and I really just kind of tackled it like we're in this together. And neither one of us, I didn't want him doing everything and he didn't want me doing everything. It was like, no, we both really have to get in here and contribute because otherwise, yeah, one of you is going to lose it. That's not going to be fun. So, yeah, yeah,
And even though you had that flex schedule, when you were working, you had to be there at the hospital.
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
So it
Yep,
wasn't
I
like,
was
oh,
in the
you could go
building.
home and work on the computer. No. And at
Nope.
least you got that focus time, because we hear moms nowadays that are frustrated because they've shown the ability to work from home. Now they're being pulled back into the office. You
Yeah,
know, they can't go pick the kids up from school. But you really found a way to make this full-time career for you and your husband work.
we
You found
did.
a position. You maybe did you know that when you got this position? Like, hey, this is going to be a great position to design around family, or did you fall into it? And do you think there are moms that if they are like, I want something like that they could find something like that out there?
I do. I mean, the fitness world is a great place to find it because I could have been a personal trainer and again, arranged my own hours. But when I got into that position, when I got into that organization, I knew that position was going to be what it was. And I had worked my way up. I had been promoted and promoted and promoted. And that was a lateral move from one of my, promotions. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I thought it would be easy to, go from being really a personal trainer to a group fitness person. It was not easy at all. It was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And I had such a great team and I had such great people to help me that made it easier. But yeah, that would be one of the, getting into fitness and really taking it seriously is a great place for somebody to build their own flexibility and really make a career out of it. It can be done and it's very worthwhile. And there's so many different ways you can take it. You can go into health coaching, you can be a running coach, You can be a strength coach. You can work with seniors. I did a lot of work with seniors and I did a lot of work with special populations, people that had injuries, illnesses. So I was a cancer exercise specialist for a while. So there's a lot of things that you can do to really get some good depth and make you very attractive and appealing to places like hospitals that have, you know, that have all of the amenities that you want. They've got insurance plans, they've got paid time off, they've got
Mhm.
all the things that would make it easier as a working parent to be able to do that. And so I enjoyed that for a really long time. Yeah.
What a great suggestion for parents
Yeah.
who may be searching for that something that has that flexibility like a business owner without the risk, that you can actually have a position like this, but still be working for a company and still have,
Yeah.
all the benefits that come with W-2. It almost sounds like you escaped the whole mom guilt. Was that never a part of you?
I don't know. I think we all always have mom guilt. I know I did still have mom guilt, but dang it, we did the best we could. So I can't, but yeah, I mean, every once in a while it would be like, oh, my husband would go to something that I didn't, but really, I mean, I was able to, hey, I'm leaving to go to my kids' recital and I'm coming back, and being the mom that got to take them to the bus stop and do all of those really cool things. I mean, gosh, we were so fortunate. It was a lot of hard work. When I do think back on it now, though, it's like, man, that was wild. That was wild times, you know?
Coordinating it all on that calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, on that paper calendar that was like a bar of gold. We were all like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, yeah. And we gave our kids a lot of responsibility too, though. I would tell my kids all the time, like, pack your own bags, get your own uniforms ready, do your own laundry. My kids have been doing their own laundry since they were 8 years old.
I didn't do
So,
that. And it's like, and so if I told them to pack their bag and then we got there and one of them didn't have shin guards and couldn't play, I was the mom that was like, I know they're supposed to learn consequences, but I don't want that to happen to my kids. So I'm going to be the one checking all the boxes and making sure
I
everything's in
know.
there. Like you pack your bag, but I was always like, wait, you forgot this. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe I stunted their growth a little, always kind of setting up the pieces behind them. But we all, like you said, do our best and do it the way
Absolutely.
that works for us.
Yeah, for sure. And then my oldest went away to college, and one of my girlfriends actually said to me, we all kind of talked and we feel like he's the most prepared. I was like, he said he was going to teach his roommate how to do his laundry, all those things. I was like, okay, this is good. Yeah.
They say that's one of the skills that's missing from the current generation that we need to do more to give them more chores. So all these things that you went through with this job and then the career and now this transition to your own business,
Yeah.
if you can go back to an earlier version of you, knowing then what you know now, what's the one thing you would change?
Ooh, I think I would change. What's the one thing I would change? I think I would use my voice more from an earlier time. I think I did a lot. I filled the role, and I think and I know I did a good job. I know I did a good job. That, I got promoted. I got promoted. I did that job well. I do think that if I had been able to use my voice a little bit more confidently from a younger age, that I probably could have even gone further. So might have changed that trajectory. Now,
But you were offered a chance to go further and you turned it down.
you're right.
So
That's very
further
true.
meaning maybe not necessarily a different position that wouldn't have given you flexibility, but maybe more pay or something else.
Something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And people have asked me too, like, don't you wish that you started doing this sooner? And, my wing woman and working remotely and being online. And my answer is no, because I would not have been ready. I needed all of that development. I needed all of that time to like live through all of the different, to your point, like the politics of being in an organization, of working with different people that you might not choose. Like, I get to choose my clients now, but that wasn't always the case. And so you had to figure out how to work with people that you might not really even like. most of the time, I did like everybody. I'm pretty easy to get along with, but there's all those elements. So I think that all of that like lived experience is what comes out into, what we get to do now. And being the age that I am and the skill set that I have, I think that's like kind of what gives me a little bit of traction.
Very insightful that you
Yeah.
recognize, because some people say, "Oh, I should have done it sooner," but you recognize that, you know what, I wasn't ready sooner, and I'm the best version of myself because I went through all those things. I really
Yeah.
appreciate all the insights that you revealed on today's episode of Women and Work. If you were inspired by today's story, remember to share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe to meet our next amazing guest. If you or anyone you know is struggling to find the right childcare, just submit your criteria and then watch a video interview with the ideal nanny who fits your family at momsub.com. That's mom sub, like a substitute mom. Our mission is for you to get the help you need so you can discover what you want in life, pursue it with intensity, and fulfill your dream, reducing your stress, guilt, and self criticism, and increasing your calm, confidence, and clarity along the way. Remember, your career, your choices, and your success are yours to define. So keep pushing boundaries and spreading your love and encouragement to other women who need it.